Hey guys, some of you have been asking what's a good way to start using the auction house and to sell your stuff and make more money. So I wanted to make a video, a quick tutorial to show you what add-ons I use and what they do and how to start kind of utilizing these aspects of the game to kind of pull in more money. Because the amount is going to be really expensive, and it's one of those like defying feats that the game makes it hard for you, but you can do if you play it right. And now that you guys are 20-ish, you're kind of in your prime gold earning states, so you're ready to start. So here we go. We're going to go over some add-ons. I've separated these add-ons into a couple categories, and you should install them. The first one is Gmail, which will allow you to send a lot of packages. Then I have some auction house and some general selling add-ons. One is a replacement for the auction house. One is like a thing that tells you how much things vendor for, and then the various dependent add-ons that go with that. And then I have some map add-ons that kind of like add a little database into your game so you can see where items are, where quests are, and help you find herbs and things like that. And then this one's more of an interface replacement for your bag, which I find useful. It's not mandatory, but I like it because it changes all of your bags into one giant bag, which makes it easier to look at. So hopefully they'll be. I'm gonna put a download link to all these, and you'll get them. So you just want to drag all these guys into your add-ons folder, like so. Very easy. There we go, and now we're ready to play. I haven't really tried this. This is my first time, so I don't know if this is actually going to work, but it should. Log in. All right, the first thing you need to do is check your add-ons and make sure they're all loaded with this button right here. And you want to hit load out-of-date add-ons and make sure that all of these are enabled. And then you want to change your script memory to something higher. If you have it on the default, it's going to be 48, and that means 48 megabytes because this game was designed a long time ago, and that's when people didn't have a lot of memory. But now you have tons of memory in computers, so you can change to something much higher, like 512. Because what will happen is your computer will, the interface will run out of its allowed memory, and then like your game will bug out. So change it much higher, and then we can enable these for all. All right. I only have a few items to demonstrate this with, but it should make some sense. So you're questing and stuff, and you're filling up your bags with items, and you come back and you're like looking at some of the stuff, and you're like, I'm not sure what to do with this. Should I sell it, or should I vendor it, or should I try to auction house it? Generally, what I do is I sell all my gray items that are not worth anything, and then anything that I think could be used for another player, I instead of going to the auction house on one of my characters, I send it all to a bank character. And the reason for this is it takes too much time to actually go back to the main city. And that's time better spent questing and killing things. So always actually just mail yourself all of the things you don't immediately need to your other characters. And this will save you tons of time because there's a million mailboxes in the game, but there's only like 3 auction houses. So let's say I just finished questing and I'm like, oh, what do I do with this scroll and this moist cornbread and this like catfish and this like mutton chop? Like I can't decide what I want to do. I'm gonna mail it to myself. And now with the Gmail add-on, you have this mass mail tab on your mail interface, and you type in the name of your bank alt, and then you just alt click on the items. Mage Royal, Scroll Spirit. Yep, this looks good. And now I've got all these guys loaded, and I'm going to send it all at once to my bank character. And it's going to ask me, because there is a price to to mail things, but trust me, it's worth it because it makes it a lot easier. You wait for it to send. And you can kind of use the mailbox as an impromptu bank since it's basically free to have stuff in the mail. All right, that looks good. We're done here. and then can go into our bank character. Always make a bank character, guys. It's really useful. You can just make a human and run it over to a main city. It takes a few minutes. All right, we got some mail, and with the add-on Gmail, we can open up all of them instead of having to right-click on every single one and drag it into the inventory. This is much faster. Looks good. And now I can run over to the auction house and start posting these things. And typically you would do this, after your play session, and you would have like a ton of items. For demonstration purposes, I only have a few. This is now the interface for your auction house, and it's a little confusing to look at first because it's a much more in-depth view of how the auction house works. It's called Aux, and sometimes it confuses me what I'm looking at, so I often go back to the Blizzard UI by clicking this button, and you can filter items this way. But the way it works in here is you can just filter for anything. It's very similar to the auction house already. Button shop. Like, there we go. This is like I can filter this. I right click on it, and I can see all the things that people are selling. Look at that, it looks good. Can build a filter, armor, leather, and hit search. And we've got all the stuff. And I can filter by cheapest price. And it works better than the Blizzard one because this will actually give you the cheapest price at the top. And it stores like a historical value and what it thinks that these items are really worth, and if people are under or overcharging for you. But I mostly use this to post. By clicking the Post tab, we can now see the items in our inventory, and when we click on them, it's going to give us the option to list them. The first option is stack size, so the number of items in the stack. I only have 2, so I have to change this to 2. And then it's 2 items in 1 stack, and that will post it all. If I change it to 1, it's going to post both of these separately. So it'll be 2 auctions of 1. If I put it to 2, it's going to be 1 auction, and then there's 2 in the stack. That way it'll split the stack for you. And if you had 20 of these, you could just put it all the way up here and post all 20 of them at once in 1 stack, or pull this lever all the way down and do all 20 individually. Whatever is good for you, it's good to vary it up. Ideally, you want to choose 24 hours because you want the items to be seen by all players of all time zones. Because there's a big European population on this server, like some of the best time zones are going to be early in the morning when you're not awake. All right, the game is suggesting a starting price and a buyout price per unit, not per the stack. So what you're looking at here is per individual cloth. So you can kind of tell what you're going to make by doing some quick math. We're going to set the start bid at fairly low. We'll do 41% of the suggested price. And then we're going to set the buyout, and we're going to look at the historical value. And it looks like people are trying to undercut the value a little bit. We'll go with like a medium undercut, like a 24 silver. That way there's some profit. And now we can look at the deposit. The game is going to take 12 copper from us to deposit these, and your profit margin is 24 copper. So you'll make the deposit back if it sells. If it doesn't, you're going to lose this, but that's why we're pricing it pretty low. So it seems pretty profitable to do this. I also included an add-on that tells you the vendor price, so you can always check if you're going to lose money. And typically you won't, because players will pay more. Players will pay more for an item than a vendor will. All the vendors in the game generally rip you off. So it looks like if I tried to sell this to a vendor, I would make 13 copper. But if I sell this to a player, we're going to make 24 copper. So I mean that's a 100% price increase. And And sometimes, and that doesn't seem like a lot, like 12 copper, like whatever, but it really adds up, especially if you're doing this all the time. I mean, because if you're making at least double what you would make from vendoring it, then at the end of the game, you're going to have 200 gold instead of 100. It's that simple. It's the difference between being level 40 and having 40 gold and being level 40 and having 80 gold. So that it does make a difference to do this stuff. And 200% is typically a pretty low profit margin. I mean, a lot of times stuff sells for like 4 or 5 times what the vendor price is. So it's good to do this, and especially things that have a low deposit cost, like linen cloth or herbs. This is where you're going to make your biggest profit. All right, so everything looks good. I can just hit post, and let's go to our next item, Mage Royal. We'll do the same thing. I've got 4 in the stack, so I'll change this to 4. Make sure this is still 24 hours. It's already suggested a price, but we can change this a little bit. Looks like it's 20, and this says 19C, so that's fine. Unit buyout price, it wants to say 39, and 39 appears to be exactly 100% of the historical value. So I mean that looks good. It also looks like people are overpricing their items too, and if you want to get a little ballsy, you can make it higher, but it probably won't sell as fast or at all, and you might lose your deposit. The deposit is 48 silver, so we're losing money by posting this if it doesn't sell. But I think this will sell. Post this. And then you just continue doing this for everything. The, you'll typically make money on cloth, trade items, cooking things, weapons of real value that have like of the eagle or of the bear. You may not make money on recipes or other miscellaneous trade crafting things because there isn't a buyer bid for it. But your most profitable is going to be like herbs and metals and things like that. And let's try this mutton shop. I think this will sell. Make sure it's 24 hours. Post that. I think these scrolls might sell. Nah, I don't know. We'll try. I don't know. This is kind of like the junk I had left over in my bag, so this isn't like the premier like money making things. I'm just showing you how to use this. We'll go 80% of that, and 100% of that seems pretty good. There's not a lot of this on the auction house. Hopefully it'll try. Yeah, I like it. Occasionally you'll get into something on this server specifically where it vendors for more than it actually auction houses, and you need to check that and make sure you're not actually trying to auction something that will just vendor for more. Like it looks like this vendorable. It looks like the scroll of spirit will actually vendor for 62 copper, but it thinks the value of it on the auction house is 2 silver. So let's check that. Could be pretty good. 40. Yeah, yeah. So that should there's a little bit of a profit to make in here. Let's try that. I like it. It looks good. So that's your basic auction house tutorial. You can also scan the entire auction house, which is really nice with this search button right here. And this is going to scan every page of the auction house and generate historical values, like if people have overpriced or underpriced things. And then when you have this add-on running all the time, every time you loot an item, it'll give you the suggested value of what this would possibly sell from the auction house. So right away, after you kill a Yeti, like it'll tell you, oh my gosh, this Yeti scalp is going to sell for like 20 silver. Like hold on to this, and that way you have a good idea of what your stuff is going to sell for and whether it's better or not to vendor it right away. And this scan actually takes a long time because there's hundreds and hundreds of pages on the auction house. So you would do this like once a week when you're not really playing. You can check your auctions here. You can also search for things at a better rate than the Blizzard auction house. Like let's say I wanted to buy a mana potion. this gonna work? No, let's do. Now let's try wool cloth. Actually, that'll be better. Wool cloth exact. All right, great. Say I'm looking for a wool cloth. I can search by historical value, and it's showing me the price per unit. And this guy right here at the top is the lowest you can find in the game currently. He's selling it for 79 a piece, and he's got 6 auctions. So this is 6 piece of linen for 79. So that's not bad. And there's an option to buy in the mall. But it seems to start getting up here really fast. Like the lowest is some of the other ones are extremely high priced. So you can tell that wool is an extremely profitable thing to sell. I mean, he wants to sell you one of them for 3 silver. That's like ridiculous. What a fucking auction house baron. Anyways, just little things to look at. All right, let's look at some other stuff. If you're trying to get herbs or other ingredients, I now have included an add-on called Shagu, which should show up here. The Shagu database is part of your quest thing, which will show you the locations of things, but you can also just straight up type things into this database, and it'll tell you where they are. Like, let's say I wanted to look for briarthorn, which is a great herb. Briarthorn. It now lists the location of all the briarthorns on the map, and you can filter by zone by right-clicking. Let's see, like alliance zone. There should be some in here. Yeah. So in Westfall, there's like a lot of briarthorn looking right over here. The game says this is all the locations. And the locations are static, but they may not be here because someone may have looted them. But you can kind of see where you should go if you want to try to walk around this zone and look for these things. This is a great way to level up. And you can also type in things like copper or copper vein. Looking good. Yes, tons of copper veins all over here. So you won't feel lost when you're looking for these items. And I've got, oh yeah, look at that. I've got a good idea of where I should go if I'm looking for copper. And so if you're seeing something on the auction house that sells for a lot, and you're like, I want a piece of that too. Let me type it in, and I can figure out where this thing is, and I'll spend a day doing this. And this is how you will get enough money, is by looking for these trade items and farming them and selling them in the auction house, because the player economy on this server is really good. It's just also very frugal because there isn't an influx of a lot of gold. Everything sells. There is a demand for everything. It's just that players don't have a lot of money, so they're not willing to spend a lot on it. But you will, if you do this enough and you start trying to find these craftable item like resources and you sell them, you will make money, and it will be good. You'll be able to afford your abilities. You'll be able to afford auction house level blues, and you will be able to afford your mount. And this is typically how I do it every time, is a mixture of selling things that I find, selling resources, and using these add-ons. And they're very good. So please give this a try, guys. It's not hard. You don't even have to do it every day. You could do this once a week. You can send all of your stuff to your character once a week and scan the auction house, and in like 20 minutes, like post all your stuff and then make like a massive amount of gold. I do it every day, and in the morning when I wake up, I have a gold sitting in my mailbox that I just auto loot. And one other thing, guys, add yourself to your friends, add your other characters to your friends list, and when you mail yourself money, your name will automatically pop up. So that you'll avoid mistyping your name and sending your gold to somebody else. So I'm going to send myself 14 silver. Awesome. All right, cool. If you have any questions, just talk to me.